I'll call the Thursday, March 12th City Commission meeting in order. First item on the agenda would be the February 27th minutes.
No change.
No changes. Next item on the agenda would be citizen comment on non-agenda items. Seeing none. Next item would be employee promotions and new hires.
Good evening, Don Scheibler, Chief of Police for the Hayes Police Department. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce to you our newest dispatcher, Cassandra Whitten. Cassandra comes to us from Russell. She graduated from Russell High School, and she's currently also attending Barton County Community College. Cassandra comes from a long line of law enforcement. Her grandfather was Lonnie Whitten Sr., Kansas Highway Patrolman, and her father, Lonnie Whitten Jr., works for the Russell County Sheriff's Department. She worked for the Russell County Dispatch Center, so she's hit the ground running for us, and we're really excited to have her on board.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Welcome,
Welcome.
Cassandra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nope. Nothing on the consent agenda. Next item would be the Hess First Edition Final Plat.
Good evening, Jesse Rohr, Director of Public Works. This first item tonight I want to discuss is the consideration of the final plat of the Hess First Edition. This property is located off of exit 157, northwest of Hayes. And as you have been through lots of different processes with this property, you'll know that this is the final step in the development process and will allow subdivision of the property. Previously, annexation and zoning were completed by approval of the City Commission. The final plat does consist of 10 lots available for development. The plat is designed to allow for commercial uses such as restaurants, hotels, travel centers, and other similar commercial uses to accommodate the traveling public along I-70. The area proposed, as I mentioned, has been annexed into the city, and when it was rezoned, it was zoned to C2 Commercial General District. Here's another visual of the property. Without the satellite imagery, the interior streets within the development will be constructed to city standard and accepted by the city for future ownership and maintenance when complete. All easements are in place for future placement of any required utilities. This plat also shows the area dedicated for permanent stormwater best management practices, or BMPs, and that would be down here on the southwest corner of this triangular lot here. The stormwater from the property, from the developed lots, will be directed to this area where it'll be controlled through engineering management design before it crosses under I-70. This final plat, as drafted, does meet all the requirements of the current subdivision regulations in regard to lot size, setbacks, and all other specific utility requirements. So as when any final plat is brought before you, you have these particular options: either approve as submitted, request any further changes or additional considerations to the plat, or do not approve the plat. This plat did go before the Hayes Area Planning Commission on January 20th of 2020, and the Planning Commission did approve the plat as submitted and as was recommended by city staff. This will be the action requested, and with that, I will take any questions.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2020-007, accepting the final plat of the Hess First Edition.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 4-0. Next item on the agenda is slope mower award of bid.
Okay, the next item I want to discuss is an award of bid for a slope mower for the Stormwater Division. The 2020 budget did include funding for the purchase of a slope mower for stormwater maintenance. This is a picture of the current 2010 Jacobson mower handed down from the Parks Department a couple years ago. It's made to mow primarily level ground or nearly level ground, and not made to mow the steep slopes that it's been used for the last couple years. Because of this, there's lots of extra wear and tear on the mower in place because it's mowing areas it shouldn't be mowing. It's also not safe for the personnel running the equipment. The plan with this particular mower is to keep it around to mow level areas, the tops of the draws, and other flat areas that are mowed by stormwater. Throughout late last fall, early winter, staff did demo 4 different units, including the one proposed as pictured here. One of the 4 was a remote controlled unit, and the other 3 required operators on board. All 4 of them were tested in one of the steepest draws that are mowed, and that would be Chatola Draw along General Custer behind the Vine Street Dillons. Only one of the 4 was reluctant to get in the draw and mow the steepest area. The other 3 did, including the remote mower and the other 2 operator mowers. This recommended mower, what they call the Harper ATM 72 LC, that stands for all-terrain mower, 72-inch cut, liquid cooled, had no issue mowing any of the areas and appeared to be the safest mower of all. This particular mower does carry a 3-year, 3,000-hour warranty. It is a liquid-cooled 3-cylinder diesel engine. You can see on the imagery here how the mower itself is kept level when on a slope. We checked with other jurisdictions that operate these particular mowers, and we found out that Fort Riley actually operates 7 of these particular units. And we also talked to a private contractor who does private work for Fort Riley, has his own unit that he purchased after one of his operators actually slid their previous mower into one of their lagoons. They love the mower. They've had no issues with the mower. It works well for them. It cuts well, and they've had no safety issues like they did previously.
Jesse, I have to comment before you leave this picture. It's the strangest looking thing sitting over there. But the bigger point of it is the guy driving it. You must get comfortable with it pretty quickly because he's not leaning uphill.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
he's settled in.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as from when our operator actually ran the mower. So this little video clip here shows how each deck is maintained. It's actually connected to the unit. It's tilted, and you can change blades, work on the bottom of the deck. Really slick process. The other image here shows them actually mowing in the draw behind Chatola. And to be honest with you, it was slightly uncomfortable watching him go down in that draw.
Yes.
Not used to being, not knowing the capabilities of the particular mower. However, the operator had no issues, as you can see, getting down in the ditch. Eric Borger, our stormwater operator, maintenance operator, he did also take control of the mower as well. Got on the mower. The learning curve was very quick. He wasn't on there for more than 5 minutes, and he got down in the draw. One of the other demos that we had, the only thing that stayed level on that mower was the seat. The seat itself was on a level, or on a kind of a swivel, and the operator said it was like like sitting on like an exercise ball and trying to run a piece of equipment. And other than getting a good core workout, he didn't feel too comfortable with it. So we felt this type of mower, keeping everything on the level except the deck, was the best situation for the operator and the machine itself. There was one qualified bid received, and that was from Great Plains Motorsports from South Hutchison, and that was in the amount of $46,882.81 for the Harper ATM 72 LC. In the 2020 budget, we did budget $70,000 out of stormwater management operational budget, the new equipment line item, and this one comes in just a little over $23,000 under budget. I do want to mention that last week we had a question about the blades on the mower. This particular mower has 2 sets of blades available. Has what they call swinging blade, which is for little taller grasses, small brush, and then it's got a fixed blade for finer cutting, shorter, thinner grasses. The mower, the bid does include 2 sets of each blade, and so we'll have the ability to try them both. The contractor in Fort Riley primarily uses a swinging blade, and they said they're so happy with the cut on the swinging blade they don't even bother with the fixed blade set. So but we'll have the ability to try them both, and then we'll use whatever works best for us. Your options would be to award the bid to Great Plains Motorsports as recommended, reject all bids, or provide staff other options. And this would be the action requested.
I move we award the bid of purchase for the purchase of a new Harper ATM 72LC slope mower from Great Plains Motorsports of South Hutchinson in the amount of $46,882.81 to be funded out of the stormwater operational budget new equipment line item.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Just have a question on the budget, such the gap on that. Were the other ones that you looked at, were they quite a bit higher?
They were, I know the one, they ranged anywhere from, I think there was one slightly less than this. It did not meet the bid specs, and that was the one that actually was a little reluctant to go down in the draw itself. When we demoed other units, there were some that got up there to the 60,000 plus range. One of them we had actually looked at last year when we budgeted for this item, isn't even made anymore. They weren't selling, and that was closer to 70, and therefore the budget amount is 70,000. So we were very pleased to find this one for that budget amount and the capabilities of it.
Have we bought anything from this company before? I mean, I have never heard of it, but
I know Public Works we have not. I'm not sure if Parks Department has. They will do all service work out of their location there in South Hutch. This brand has dealers all over the place. South Hutch has this region, and so any maintenance will be performed by them if necessary, and they do stock parts, the common parts as well.
So, one last question, and I apologize I wasn't here last week. So will we be mowing more, the same, just safer?
Sure, no, that question did come up last week. So we don't intend to mow more, except for some of the areas and some of the draws that we just haven't mowed because we didn't have the equipment to get to them.
Right.
Even walking on some of these slopes with a weed eater or similar equipment is very tough. We typically we'll mow first thing in the spring, assuming the draws are relatively dry. Then we usually mow mid to late July, and then we mow again at the end of the growing season come October, early November. The tops of mowers in the top third or so, we do mow more frequently just for aesthetic reasons, keep it looking nicer. We try to let the bottom grow a little taller for stormwater control reasons, erosion control, sediment control, and reasons such as that. So.
Thank you. I'd love to see it in action sometime. I hope to get to see it.
Bet.
Interesting. Any comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 4-0.
Thank
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks,
Next
Jesse.
item on the agenda, North Vine Street Corridor Project Update. Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Brown, Project Manager, and I'm here to give you an update on the North Vine Street Corridor Project. A bit of a recap in terms of what the project actually includes. And we'll start at the north end of the project, and you'll see that it includes a roundabout at the intersection of 41st and Mopar. At the westbound I-70 ramps, the westbound off-ramp will be reconfigured and converted into a right turn only northbound. The eastbound I-70 ramps will include a teardrop shaped roundabout and reconfiguration of both the on and off ramps there. At 37th Street, there'll be a full roundabout. Skyline will be extended to 41st Street. 37th Street will be extended west to Skyline. The west frontage road will be rebuilt from Whiskey Creek on north up to about the 24/7 fuel station. 35th Street intersection will receive a island in the middle that will create a 3/4 intersection there. Basically, that allows right and left turns on and off of Vine Street, but only right turns from 35th onto Vine Street, no left turns onto Vine Street. And then at 32nd and 33rd Street, an hourglass-shaped roundabout that encompasses both of the 32nd and 33rd Street intersections. And then finally, at the south end, Hayes Chevrolet will receive a ride-in, ride-out entrance onto Vine Street because the frontage road is being disconnected from 32nd Street there. As far as schedule goes, the project is currently out to bid with KDOT. There's a March 25th bid opening. If you're so inclined, you can go on and Google bid letting March 25th KDOT, and you can find the project and download the plans and see who's holding. It's 405 sheets of plans if you're interested. So then once they have the bids, we'll be coming back in April for concurrence on the award of bid, and then there'll also be an agreement for construction inspection at that time as well. And we anticipate construction to begin sometime in May of this year, with construction being completed by the end of the construction season in 2021, November timeframe. But the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight is the sequencing of construction and traffic through construction. So the project is broken down into 9 distinct phases of construction spanning 2 construction seasons. Season 1 has 4 phases, beginning in May of 2020 and running through November of 2020. Tacked on to the end of Season 1 is what we call the winter season, or the winter phase, which will construct the extension of 37th Street west to Skyline and the extension of Skyline up to 41st Street during that November to April timeframe. That allows us to do some work during the winter without running the risk of having winter weather impact traffic on Vine Street. If we have to shut down for a month because of snow or extreme cold, it won't affect anybody by doing the work in this area of the project. So the first phase, which runs from May into mid-July, is approximately 8 to 10 weeks in length. And the first area to be reconstructed is the east side of the west frontage road. And we'll zoom into the area of 32nd and Vine there by the Pheasant Run and Whiskey Creek. The orientation, north is to the right. The pink areas are areas under construction. The blue areas are areas where traffic would flow. And you will see that traffic is one way in one lane northbound while they're constructing on the east side of that west frontage road. Moving north along that west frontage road, the connection 35th Street there is closed while they're doing the construction.
John?
Yes?
Can you back up? One more. No, the next one back.
Next one back.
Back. There we
Yep.
go. So you're saying phase 1, it's going to be one way right
Right.
there by Pheasant Run. So you got 2 lanes going into one. Is that on the left side? They're going to be?
Yeah, they will be driving down the left side of the road. And we actually went back and forth with the engineer. Originally, we had it one way southbound. But what we discovered is that if somebody were wanting to go to Freddy's or Arby's or Whiskey, if they didn't turn back at 37th Street and they drove past it, there is no way to get back, no good way to get back. This way, you drive past and you say, oh, I wanted to go to Arby's. Well, you can go.
That makes
And
sense.
so we made it was kind of a little, I won't say after the fact, but in the process, we originally started the other direction and we decided to go this way because it was more forgiving to the unwary traveler that way.
I like that.
Good point.
Makes sense now. Thank you.
And then moving on, continuing on north to toward 37th Street, you can see traffic is still one way northbound, and then everything else is normal. So after the east side is constructed, then traffic will be moved over onto the new pavement, and they'll be reconstructing the west side of the frontage road. Still, traffic is one way northbound. As construction occurs along that, all the entrances to the individual businesses, they'll be phased construction. So they'll always be, that kind of shows that like it's being blocked off, but they'll be always being allowed to get in and out of all those businesses, and they'll be building half entrances or having one entrance open while they're building one, and so that will always allow access to those businesses along the frontage road. And then actually during this phase, we do allow a little bit of two-way traffic to access the 24/7 there at the north end of the construction zone. And then the third step in the west frontage road construction rebuilds the pavement right there at the intersection of 35th Street, right in front of Arby's there, kind of widens it out to allow for the eventual three-quarter intersection configuration. Also during phase one, work begins on the right in, right out entrance to Hayes Chevrolet and the disconnection of that west frontage road from 32nd Street. And we're also going to be rebuilding, during phase one, reconstructing the portion of 32nd Street to the west of the frontage road. You'll notice orientation, I've rotated it. North is now up. So Pheasant Run, 32nd Street to the west is to the left. And traffic is one way westbound in one lane while they're building the north half of this portion of 32nd Street. And then they'll shift the traffic over onto the new pavement, build the south half, and still it's one way westbound during this part. Now, I would point out too that at this time is probably when with the alley right here that goes back toward Whiskey Creek, open that up so people from the west part of town can get in and out of Whiskey Creek and that area of frontage road stuff without having to, they wouldn't be able to because of the one-way westbound traffic right there. This is similarly, 33rd Street would be constructed in halves as well. So we have one way eastbound on 33rd Street while they're building the north half of that intersection, and then one way still eastbound on the new pavement while they're rebuilding the south half of the 33rd Street intersection. It'd be Starbucks there to the bottom and O'Reilly's to the top there. The last thing done during phase one, we're still in phase one of 9 phases, is terminating the west frontage road at the south end there by Whiskey Creek. And that's where we reestablish an entrance into Whiskey Creek, put the curb. At this point in time, we still have two-way traffic that would accommodate through the old entrance, Whiskey Creek entrance, and also into Pheasant Run. But that will be the last phase, and that will allow then this part during the next phase to be removed as they start building the roundabout in that area, which moves us into phase two. So now we're in mid-July. Lots happened in the last 2 months, but we're moving out onto Mainline Vine Street and starting to build the west half of the 32nd, 33rd Street roundabout. And this phase will take us through August, lasting about 6 weeks. And this slide shows how the west side of the 32nd Street roundabout will be constructed in steps to allow access to 32nd Street. After the steps shown here, traffic will be shifted to the south onto the new pavement, and that gap will be filled in. During this time, all entrances, all access along 32nd Street remains open. We've got two-way traffic. You'll notice that the Vine Street traffic here now has been shifted over to the east side. So it'll be one way head-to-head. Southbound traffic transitions over at 35th Street, moves over to the east side. When it gets down to 29th Street, it shifts back over to the west side like normal. You'll also notice that there's some temporary traffic signal light configuration there to allow for the better flow of traffic at those intersections during construction. After the west side is built, they'll start building on the east side roundabout. This phase will take another 6 weeks from September through mid-October. Here, similarly to how the west side was built, the east side will be constructed in steps, allowing 33rd Street traffic access during construction. Here you can also see that the southbound Vine Street traffic will be running in the outside lanes of the new roundabout part, the curvy part, while the northbound traffic cuts through the center on some existing pavement, some new pavement, and some temporary pavement. The intersections with 32nd and 33rd Street will be controlled with stop signs at this point, and there won't be any left turns allowed. And it's kind of obvious how you won't be able to make the left turns during this phase of construction from either 32nd Street or onto 32nd or 33rd Street. That brings us to the fourth phase during season one, which constructs the center islands and the splitter medians. And this will take about 4 weeks, mid-October through mid-November, which would be the November 20th milestone for completion date for season one. Here you can see that during this phase of construction, traffic is split and pushed out to the outside lanes to allow room to construct the center islands. And like the previous phase, 32nd and 33rd Street intersections will be controlled with stop signs, and left turns will not be allowed during this particular phase of construction. After all of the season one, mainline Vine Street work is complete. The contract will begin the work to extend 37th and 41st Street as we previously discussed, November through April. And this completes season one and all the winter work, taking us then to April of 2021.
Before you go, is there any
questions
on
about
season one?
season one?
Do you remember everything?
Got it.
Yeah. I might say now, we'll be putting this whole PowerPoint out onto the city's website for people to go through.
And we can make you as many copies as you think
And-
is necessary, the individual.
And I have a question, I can ask it at the end or I can ask it now. Are you going to do a demonstration like this for all the commercial businesses that are impacted along this area?
Well, we will be having a pre-construction meeting,
Okay.
and I think that could be part of that. It might be something that we can handle individually. I mean, some
Short
businesses.
answer is yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the pre-construction meeting or a separate meeting.
Because I think this is very important to do as soon as possible with those businesses. And the only reason I say that is I think back to when we redid 8th Street and we got ahead of it with the businesses and they were able to do signage and make changes. And when they had the time to do that and understood where they needed to put that signage, everything, it made sense.
Right.
Is what I wanted to say.
And I've got a slide at the end of my presentation, but you've also got in front of you the front side of a handout, a flyer that explains it. On the back side will be a detail for every single phase. So as we go along, the front side can stay consistent, but on the back side it'll show traffic control. And my slide actually shows an example. I think it's of phase 2 of season 1, and we're working on so every time the traffic control changes, we'll have a new configuration to go in the back. We'll have those available, printed out, that businesses can have, and we can provide to the media and talk about.
My concern is, I think they understand what's going to happen. I'm not sure that I would understand today, and I've seen it a lot, the timeline that goes with it. And I think that's really important for them to be able, so they can react. I think there's a lot of positivity around this on Vine Street. People are getting excited about it, though there are some nerves associated, as they would be. I think if they can get ahead of it, just for signage, it could solve a lot of that trepidation that they have.
Well, and Joe, that's a question I have. We get a lot of travelers that stop in Hayes. Kansas City to Denver, we're definitely a pit stop. I've never been to Hayes, and I want to go get the best pancake in town, or Freddy's hamburger, or whatever. How simple is it going to be if I know nothing about Hayes to get to these places? as in, because if I drive into Hayes, I see all this construction, I'm like, oh my God. But how are we gonna do signage? Because we did that on Vine Street down by Dillon's. I remember there was very clear signs. I mean, what's?
Yeah, so if you're going south and let's say you have to go to 33rd to go back up, we will definitely have signage that says you can access Freddy's and Arby's and this via this turning movement. And people are usually pretty adept as they travel like that of
Yeah.
understanding, especially if they see line of sight that it's there
Right.
and they see there's a road getting there. But we're going to make sure we have every opportunity to sign
Sure.
whatever's available.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that's something that I would be concerned if I was a business, you know, if I come into town, I mean, you're gonna look for the easiest route and stuff, and if you don't know, you may just, you know, go on, so.
Right.
We have to do that.
So I'll continue on with season 2 if you're. There's less
How many
slides.
seasons
I'm
do we have
tired.
again?
I'm tired.
You know, we had a watch party for a show, season 1, or no.
Yeah. So season 2 includes 4 phases as well, and that's concentrated on the 3 roundabouts that are around the I-70 exit 157 area, and that runs us through November of 2021. Phase 1 doesn't look like much on the map here, but in addition to a little bit of new pavement at the westbound off-ramp, there's also some other temporary work that's going on at the other ramps and in a few other locations. That's preparatory work for subsequent phases. And I want to note, too, that during this whole project, we're not touching the westbound on-ramp, what we call ramp B there, I guess. All 3 other ramps will receive some level of modification. So phase 2 dives right into the construction of the west side of the 3 roundabouts, and it lasts about 8 weeks, all of May and June of 2021. So this is the north end of the project. 43rd Street is right on the right side of your screen there, and traffic is reduced to 1 lane and switched over. We'll take out a portion of the median right here and switch traffic over, so it'll be head-to-head with the traffic on the east side there as they're constructing. 43rd Street intersection is still controlled by its signal lights and functions normally. South of the construction zone, traffic is returned to normal at 35th Street. Northbound traffic wanting to access the east side frontage road, though, will not be able to make a left turn here because of the congestion that will be caused by the combining of the 2 lanes. So traffic wanting to access these frontage roads will need to go down to the new roundabout and come back, and then they can make that right turn right into the east side frontage road. The next 2 slides here show how traffic is phased through the construction of the intersection at 37th Street. Again, I've rotated the slide, so north is up at this point, but similar to the way the other roundabouts were, we shift traffic around here. Here we actually allow for both east and west, rather than limiting it to 1 lane. We can accomplish that in this construction phase. And then we move north a little bit to the eastbound I-70 ramp, and construction will again occur in steps similar to previous phases, allowing the continual access of Vine Street from eastbound I-70. However, since the traffic signal lights will be gone by this time, and due to the disruptiveness of the left turn lanes and stuff, traffic coming off will have to go down, use a roundabout, come back to go northbound. And similarly, if you're wanting to get on, you'll have to go down and come back around, make the right turn to get onto I-70. Moving north to the westbound ramps at 41st and Mopar intersection. Like the eastbound I-70 ramps, the left turns will be prohibited at the westbound I-70 ramps. Therefore, travelers desiring to turn left will need to proceed on through and turn around and make the right turn onto westbound I-70 or southbound Vine, as the case might be. To illustrate the construction of the roundabout at 41st and Mopar, north is up here, and here we have one way, one lane westbound there by Applebee's, and like I say, it's shifted over during each phase, only one way westbound. And then we move into phase 3, which is July through mid-September, about 10 weeks worth of construction, which constructs the east side, similar to the west side. Here we have traffic at 35th Street being moved over onto the west side lanes. Again, left turns are prohibited through this movement. And then we move north to the 37th Street, where it's constructed out in front of the Golden Ox and Super 8. And we have two-way traffic, east and west, to the east 37th Street. Again, left turns are prohibited. Under this scenario now, we are at the eastbound I-70 ramps. Northbound Vine Street traffic will be able to make the right turn onto the eastbound ramp. However, southbound traffic wanting to make the left turn will need to proceed on down through, turn around at the roundabout at 32nd, 33rd Street, and then proceed on back to make the right turn on. Similarly, westbound traffic exiting I-70 and desiring to go north will need to proceed on south first and turn around and come back. Like,
On
yes.
pedestrians, so we have walking paths that go across the exit ramps and on-ramps. Will they be lighted in any fashion? I don't know if I see that too often where pedestrians are allowed to walk across as interstate traffic is coming down off the ramp.
In the ultimate end product, there will be the they're not, but it's at the roundabout, the teardrop shaped roundabout. They have the crosswalks, they have the yield signs, and it'll be just like any other of the roundabout intersections. And at the westbound ramp where we have the right turn, that'll be a stop sign controlled, and they'll have the crosswalk with the stop bar. But no, they're not lit or push button activated. So, but the I-70 traffic either needs to stop or yield at the roundabout. So, and right. So this is the right turn at the westbound off ramp, building the east half of the 41st and Mopar roundabout. And here we have a reorientation of the slide showing that area of 41st Street north of Vine by the Comfort Inn, the Quest Fuel, and we have one lane of traffic eastbound while they're building the south half of that roundabout, and it switches over to onto the new pavement on the south side as they're building the north half of the roundabout. It's still one way eastbound, but all entrances are open, all access is available. During these phases, entrances to Comfort Inn and Quest Fuel are reconstructed, but both of those businesses have alternate exits or entrances to the east. And then once we get past that to the north there, just shy of 43rd Street, you can see where traffic crosses back over at the same place we had it going the other way during the other phases. Then the 43rd Street intersection is still signalized and functioning normally. Finally, we move into the last phase, mid-September through mid-October, approximately 4 weeks. It constructs the splitter medians and the center islands of the 3 roundabouts. The multi-use path on the old 41st Street alignment would also be constructed toward the end of this phase. Moving south to north, beginning at 37th Street, Vine Street traffic is 1 lane in each direction in the outside lanes of the new roundabout. 37th Street traffic is controlled by stop signs, and left turns are still prohibited. Moving on down to the eastbound I-70 ramp, it's still carried in the outside lanes of the new roundabout. Still no left turns. And then we move toward the westbound ramps and the 41st Mopar roundabout. Similar traffic control scenario with 1 lane northbound and 1 lane southbound. And north of 41st Street and Mopar, traffic is returned to normal prior to 43rd Street. However, the inside left turn lane here is closed off to allow space to restore the median there that was previously used for crossover traffic. And then the last piece of the puzzle is to move back down to 35th Street, there by Hickox and Arby's, and construct the median island that creates the 3/4 intersection at that location. So by the end of October 2021, the project is substantially complete. Contractor will still have about 30 days for cleanup and punch list items. However, that work should not have significant impact on traffic. And so my caveat is this is the construction phasing plan as designed by the engineers. Whatever contractor is awarded the bid will obviously review the plan and may offer some input to improve upon that. If they have suggestions to improve upon it, we definitely want to hear that. But we'll definitely want to make sure that whatever plan they do and following this plan, that they always allow the most access to businesses as feasible, and always access to all businesses at all times. So I mentioned the flyer earlier. You have the front side in front of you. On the screen there, I kind of show a sample of what might be on the backside that would show the traffic flow during any particular phase. This just demonstrates phase 2 of season 1. So, and this fact sheet, actually this sample is on the project website right now, and it would be updated as we move through the various different phases and be distributed to media and stakeholders along the project. For the benefit of the public, there is a specific web page for this project on the city's website, hazesusa.com. It's right there on the home page. There's a place you can click on it right there to take you to that particular web page. And I would stand for questions if you have any more.
John, on the roundabouts on the center part, how much higher are they going to be than what the road is?
Not a whole lot. There'll actually be 2 transition areas. You'll have your normal driving lanes. There'll be a truck apron. So when the trucks are turning and they can get up on that, and that's about 3 inches higher. Okay. It's a mountable curb. And then from that truck apron to the center island is another 3-inch curb. So theoretically, you could drive over. It won't be comfortable and it's not allowable, but but yeah, it's basically 2 3-inch transitions to get you to the center. And then I think the center islands are kind of graded to drain. They're a little bit domed, so
And that'll all be concrete? Will
That'll-
that be,
all be concrete.
okay, will that be a different color?
Yeah, they'll be similar to what you're seeing on the screen. It'll be a dyed, stamped concrete.
Also, when we take out the stoplights, what will we be doing with those?
There'll be the salvage on the stoplight. I think some of that will be able to be reused on the temporary configuration with some of the heads and stuff, but the poles and the lights are salvaged to the city.
On that transition or the turning at 35th there, will that be 6 inches high to separate the traffic?
Right, that'll be similar to the median curbs that are out there now.
Okay.
The tall, yeah, you wouldn't be able
wouldn't
to
be
drive
able to
over
roll
that.
jump.
Okay, good, good.
Right.
I think this is extremely helpful, John, and that's why I was suggesting that we get it out to stakeholders as soon as possible. I think any of us that would stand up and say this is not going to cause some disruption ought to step back as our nose grows. But I think that if we keep our eyes on the prize, and the deeper I get into it, the deeper I see these drawings, the more I see the value of it going into the future. You guys are doing great work and working great with everybody, the engineers, everybody you have to. This is not going to be the easiest thing we've ever done in Hayes, but I believe that with the information that we're putting out there and that whether it's written or whether it's having stakeholder meetings, et cetera, I think it makes a difference. If anybody chooses not to participate in those meetings or not to read all of this stuff, that's a whole different story. But I think you're doing a great job with information, and I think that's what will make this successful. Thank you for that.
John, I have one other question, is on these timelines, how comfortable are you on those because of weather delays and so on, that we won't end up getting, each section pushed back?
Right. Well, we never know about the weather for sure. It is an aggressive schedule. I'll admit to it. Contractors bidding this will need to have the capacity to accomplish the work and working in multiple places at multiple times. I did go out onto the website earlier today, and there's 3 prime contractors who have, pulled plans and have thrown their hat in the ring, and they're all larger than any, local contractors. So they each have the capacity to do this.
That's what scares
Project,
me is,
yeah.
I know we have a little delay, but like you said, it's them having the capacity to stay caught up no matter what
Right.
the weather does,
Yeah.
so that the whole thing doesn't get pushed back.
Right.
Past, 2021,
Right.
November.
It's a 5,000 piece puzzle with lots of little pieces.
I know, that's what scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
thank you.
John, yesterday I was went to Emporia, and they have 2 large roundabouts right before you get there. And I thought they they looked designed very well. And I was behind many semis, and because people ask me all the time, how on earth the semi is going to navigate this? And I was right behind them, and they navigated very smoothly. And it kind of had the aprons like what we had, and the wheels went over the top, but it wasn't like a big drop off, and it seemed very smooth. So I hope ours. I don't know how long theirs has been in. Do you know on that, Toby, in Emporia?
Depends, anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one has been in quite a while. The other one I think is newer. So.
I was pretty impressed. I've been in other roundabouts. I was pretty impressed the way those looked. It was right when you get into the city, but it was on a pretty busy highway and stuff. So I was very impressed. So hopefully ours is somewhat like that.
I think it's interesting to see the different kinds of roundabouts and how you adjust to them. And more conversations that I've had with people say, what do you think is going to happen when they start? I think the first thing that happens is you slow down. And I think that I demonstrated that for the second time. I went through the one on the west side or the east side of Lawrence, where you have to get back on the interstate to go westbound, and you kind of split off. One goes to Kansas City, one goes out to a roundabout and comes back in to go westbound I-70. The first time I went through it really slow, thinking, what am I doing? Where am I going? They're taking me backwards. And the second time yesterday, I was just able to drive through it slowly. And so there is a learning curve, there's no question, but I think if people are patient, they're going to be fine. I can't imagine anybody over a short period of time not being able to drive these just fine.
John, I spoke at a group the other day about these, and they asked me a question. I think I answered this right. There will be no trees or grass or anything in the middle, correct? And what will we do with the trees that are there now that are growing? Do you know that answer?
Right. There are a few
They're not large.
they get in the area
41st.
41st up there by right up here that'll come out. Parks Department's going to go in and salvage stuff ahead of time, so they'll be taking out everything that has a ability to be reused. They'll be doing that because there's a lot of those big rocks up there too that'll be coming out right now.
All right, thank you. Questions? No executive session, correct? Sir. That's a good thing. Mr. Melick,
I have nothing this evening.
Burgess?
Congratulations to Hayes High for advancing in the playoffs. Many of us, I'm not sure how that's going to proceed, but hopefully they do get a game in or two. So congratulations on making it this far. Good game last night.
Yes. Jacobs?
I have nothing.
I would agree with you, Mr. Burgess. I was there last night. I plan to be on there tomorrow if they allow us to go. And it was, I hadn't been to a state basketball game that somebody actually knew. And, you know, I grew up coaching some of these kids. My kids played travel league ball, and it was pretty awesome. And, you know, I know they're up against some tough competition, but I hope they have a chance to win tomorrow. And it's going to be a long drive there and back, but I'll do it again tomorrow. So we're adjourned.